The Rebel's steel grapple anchor is landed amidships on the Warrior's low-lying wooden ribs. Note that the mate has lashed the grapple into place, so it won't break free while we're diving. As feared, recent weather conditions have produced poor bottom visibility. Filming on these inshore wrecks can be quite difficult. In fact, the footage used for today's show is actually the accumulation of several trips to the site. Marine life seemed to thrive on shipwrecks. All shipwrecks in the area provide structure on the otherwise barren sandy bottom, and in time support entire ecosystems. In fact, shipwrecks are like an oasis in the middle of a barren desert of sand. Divers can watch schools of baitfish swim over the wreck, or watch as a small lobster marches around the bottom searching for food. The Warrior is also home to some large blackfish, and is considered by many to be a good spearfishing wreck. Here, sponge, starfish, sea urchins, and marine growth completely blanket the wreck's wooden beams, while the occasional tropical and bottom fish live together on an artificial reef created over 130 years ago when its steamship ran aground. Divers not familiar with the Warrior's layout are recommended to use a tether line reel for navigation. This wreck is fairly large and divers could easily get lost. A tether line allows the divers to retrace their movements back to the anchor line after the dive. Diver Mike McBeacon has found a broken china plaque. The plaque had once read "Officer" and was probably used as a sign above one of the Warrior's hatches. On the west end of the wreck, we find a few canvas bags of clams. The bags are chum, dropped here by local fishermen to attract fish to the site. I decide to open up some of the clams and provide the local inhabitants with a free meal. Once a few clams are open, we're able to attract a load of small baitfish that inhabit the area. The bergulls and sea bass come right in to feast on the free handout. Fish feeding was not exactly part of our dive plan, but we can't resist the temptation and open up a few more clams before continuing on our way. While we're busy feeding the fish, Steve Belinda continues to film the wreck. We're using Amphibico video housings to film Dive Wreck Valley. These rugged cast aluminum housings are almost indestructible and are perfect for the harsh environment of wreck diving. As Steve Belinda continues to film, diver Rick Schwartz picks a likely location near the Warrior's boiler and starts to dig for artifacts. The severe winter storms of 1992 have uncovered major portions of previously buried wreckage, providing access to deeply buried artifacts. It's not long before Rick locates a beautiful soup ladle. Once a productive spot is located, it's always recommended to continue to dig. And within a few minutes, Rick finds another piece of Warrior silverware, this time a spoon. Silverware from the Warrior has the wreck's name engraved in their handles and is considered to be one of the most prized artifacts a diver can find. In over 14 years of diving the Warrior, I've only found one piece of silverware. Our good fortune today is due to the powerful nor'easter of 1992 that ripped through the area and uncovered at least a foot or more of sand from the wreck. Brass spikes are the most common artifact on the wreck, but most are still firmly secured into place. Some spikes, however, can be removed with a sledgehammer and punch, but they can require a lot of hard work. I try my luck and start to work on a seemingly easy spike recovery. As I continue to pound on the spike, attempting to drive it through the wood beam, a small lobster is spotted strolling around the wreck. The Warrior holds a decent quantity of lobsters, but due to the abundance of divers that visit the site, most are small. As this small crustacean heads back for the security of its hole, I'm still busy working on the same stubborn brass spike. After almost 15 minutes of work, the brass spike is finally freed. There are several styles of spike on this wreck, ranging from the large round spike seen here to smaller square deck spikes and copper sheathing nails, which can be located all over the site. Under the Warrior's boiler, we spot a large bay eel living in a hole. These eels are common in inland bays, but can be observed on occasion on shallow water wrecks such as the Black Warrior, which is located close to the inlet. Once a diver becomes familiar with the wreck's layout, navigation can become almost second nature. There are several distinct landmarks, like the remains of her wooden paddle wheel, which is located on the northwest edge or stern of the wreck. Her boiler, which provides the highest relief on the site, and this brass flange, both located amidships. Another notable landmark is the Black Warrior's mast, which is located on the north side of the wreck and points towards shore. Located on the easternmost tip of the Warrior's wreckage, divers can locate her copper-plated keel, which indicates the wreck's bow. The copper sheathing was used to prevent woodworms from destroying her hull. Divers will also note the large fluted anchor that is uncovered due to winter storms. Near the bow, I find an old fishing anchor. This little steel anchor requires some work to pull free from the wreck, but within a short time it's pulled out of the bottom. I quickly rig a subsalve lift bag to the anchor and then attach my reel as an upline. By adding a little air to the bag, the artifact is sent to the surface. The upline will assure that the bag will not float away in the current while we're still underwater. Please note that if and when nylon line is used as an upline, it should be removed on the next dive to avoid future diver or marine life entanglement. Mike is using a Fisher 1280X metal detector to search the Warrior's debris field for artifacts. This rugged machine allows the diver to quickly scan an area and locate buried artifacts. Within only a few minutes, Mike is homed in on and locates his first target signal. After fanning away the sand, he pulls out a beautifully engraved spoon. Only a few minutes later, Mike locates another signal and recovers a fork from the same hole. Shortly after the fork is found, the Fisher beeps again. This time, Mike pulls another spoon from the sandy bottom, which had been hiding it for over 130 years. As Mike continues to search the sandy bottom with the metal detector, I've dug up what at first appears to be a two-hole deadeye. After a little further inspection, I realize that what I've found is really not a deadeye, but a small wooden pulley. Mike locates another signal. This time he digs up a beautiful brass padlock. The metal detector has once again proven its worth and is consistently locating buried targets. Meanwhile, working in almost zero visibility, I found what had felt like a small brass bell. The object turns out to be some sort of a brass lid or cover. Mike has located yet another signal with the metal detector. It turns out to be a small brass hook, once used to lock a door or cabinet. I've been digging in the same hole for almost 20 minutes and finally locate another brass spike. At least this one didn't require any pounding with the sledgehammer. Mike locates one more signal with the Fisher. When he digs out the artifact, it turns out to be the brass head of a sledgehammer. This hammer is well worn and was probably used to break coal for the Warrior's coal-driven engine. A small lobster walks out, seemingly to have his picture taken. This tenacious little one-clawed bug gets a little defensive when the camera is positioned too close for his comfort. Only a few feet away, Mike hits another signal. After digging the target, Mike pulls out a brass deck spike, which is still attached to a little of the wood from the wreck. After over an hour of bottom time, our air supply is running a little low, and it's finally time to head back to the anchor and start our slow ascent to the Rebel. On our way, I find and play with a small spider crab. These crustaceans may be ugly, but as demonstrated here, are really completely harmless. We also spot another small lobster hiding in a hole amongst the Warrior's wreckage. As we slowly ascend back up the anchor, we reflect on how productive the Black Warrior has been this year. Although the visibility could have been a little bit better, each of us is eager to return and search once again for artifacts from this historic shallow water shipwreck. After our dive, we slowly climb back aboard the dive boat Rebel. We've each spent over an hour on the bottom, and although visibility could have been a little bit better, we've all had a great dive. After Joe climbs back up the ladder to board the Rebel, I'm eager to show him the artifacts found in only one dive. For years, this wreck had been considered picked clean of artifacts, but the power of Mother Nature this past winter uncovered entire new sections of wreckage, allowing access to silverware and other artifacts previously buried deep beneath the sand. We've done well today. In my gear bag alone are 2 pieces of silverware, a fork and a spoon, a brass lid, which will shine beautifully once cleaned and polished, a small wooden pulley, part of the Warrior's rigging, and an assortment of brass spikes and smaller copper sheathing nails. The amount and variety of artifacts recovered today is at the very least impressive. As the Rebel starts to cruise back towards shore, all on board can already be heard planning for their next day of wreck diving adventure to the wreck of the paddle wheel steamer Black Warrior. Due to the Rebel's cruising speed, the trip back to shore is remarkably...